Hey guys, welcome back to another doll customizing video. This video is coming out a little bit later than I would have hoped, but I did decide to enter Dollightful's tropical collaboration that she hosted here on YouTube. I already watched the 1-hour video that Dollightful created on her channel with everybody's entries for the tropical collaboration, and I did manage to find my doll amongst the many entries. I definitely give huge props to Catherine for hosting this collab and shuffling through so many entries in order to create something that the whole doll and toy community could participate in. For my interpretation of the tropical theme, I decided to go with a simple beachwear inspired look. When I finally finished her, she reminded me of a person who went on vacation and came back with a full wardrobe of stuff they bought while on vacation, so I decided to call her a tropical island tourist. With that said, please join me as we venture into uncharted waters and create a tropical themed doll. I feel like anyone who goes on vacation has to be excited for their trip, so in order to create an obviously happy person, I decided to go with an Ever After High Apple White doll who already has a molded smile. I'm pretty sure the Ever After High dolls who already have the molded smile are from the winter collection, which means that they have these molded leggings. So since this is a tropical themed, I switched her body with a different Ever After High Apple White body. I had actually already tried repainting the doll with the molded smile, but I didn't really like the way it was coming out, so I put her aside and kind of forgot about her. The first thing I have to do is remove her first attempt at being repainted using a bit of acetone and a cotton ball. Even though I wanted to make her a beachwear inspired doll, I still wasn't really sure on what I wanted to do. So like many of my dolls, I decided to let one thing push me towards a direction. I had one fabric choice in mind, so I decided to use the colors from that fabric to inspire the face-up colors. I got started with the initial blushing on her forehead, cheeks, and nose before using a white pencil to lightly sketch in her teeth and a magenta pinkish color for her lips. Like I mentioned in my last video, I was going to answer a question during the part where I draw in her top eyeliner and eyelashes, because this part always takes me a while. So from the comments section, Isabel Stump asked, who are some of your biggest inspirations and what got you into doll repainting? I feel like a lot of people answer this, but it was definitely Dollightful who was the first person I saw customize a doll. I believe her Batsy Claro video appeared in my recommendation, so when I saw the thumbnail, I was obviously going to watch it because I was so interested in seeing what kind of doll this was. I didn't realize that she actually repainted the face by hand, so when she started doing that during the video, I was like, yes, I want to try that. So after I subscribed to her channel and started watching other YouTube doll artists like Hexian and Mozekito, many years later I decided to create an Instagram and found an entire doll community around just this hobby. I really want to explain this question thoroughly, so I'm going to spill into me repainting her eyebrows to quickly finish up, but once in the doll community I saw a lot of amazing artists who honestly, there's just countless people that I could really say in this video, but honestly everybody who I follow are such talented artists, even though people that I don't follow that I really should be. But I definitely have to give a quick shout out to Blank Space Dolls, because he was pretty much my first doll friend who I made and did a swap doll with. So thank you very much, Isabel, for asking that question, and if any of you guys want me to answer your question in a future video, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Something new that I got recently were these Mungyo, yes. Soft pastels that I got off Amazon for about $9. They're very tiny, but they supply a lot of different colors. But for the price, they're pretty okay. I wouldn't say they're absolutely pigmented, but they definitely are a good price for what you get. So after sketching in the initial lines on her face, I decided to go with a blue eyeshadow, but later on I do change it to more of a turquoise color on the outside of her lid, and then I use a coral color near the center part. Before spraying her face with another layer of MSC, I decided to go ahead and wet my paintbrush and pick up some white to draw on the white parts of her eyes. This is only one side of her face done, I'm just showing it to you now just so you can see how pigmented that white can be when you use a wet paintbrush. Now to really make the eyes and eyebrows pop out, I use a dark brown to go over the eyeliner, eyelashes, and the ends of her eyebrows. The next thing I do is move on to the waterline, which like always I use my pink watercolor pencil to sketch that in. Right as I was drawing the waterline, my pencil broke off, and for some reason that really irritated me, so I decided to quickly switch over to painting on the color using my paintbrush. This is when I color correct her eyeshadow to the turquoise and coral color like I mentioned earlier. In order to smooth that transition, I did use a light orange color to kind of blend the colors together, which doesn't really make too much sense when you think about it, but that's what I ended up doing. Before I finished up the layer and sprayed another spray of MSC, I quickly drew in the outline for her eyes, which is that light gray that you see now. I didn't include that in, I think I just skipped over it since I've shown it so many times. I didn't really feel like recording it. But for this layer, I continue building up the colors in her eyebrows and the eyeshadow, and I start adding colors into the eyes and making sure that everything is just nice and bright and beautiful. And of course, I continue building up the whites of her eyes with that wet paintbrush. I decided to use my paintbrush to paint on the colors for her pupil, and as I did that, I found it weird that the eyelashes seemed kind of dull compared to the full saturation that was going to be going on to her pupils, so I decided to actually use my paintbrush to paint on top of the lashes that I had already drawn. It took an extra while and a lot of patience with using such a tiny brush, but I definitely think it was worth it because I think the face would have just been thrown off because the eyelashes would have looked dull compared to the saturation in the pupils, and considering that this doll is beachwear, I wanted to make sure that all the colors were very bright, so I think it just definitely made sense for this doll. Next, I move on to sketching on her bottom eyelashes with the same brown watercolor pencil that I've been using for her eyelashes and eyebrows, but before I sketch them in, I have to draw in the line that will be underneath her waterline just as a guide for placing those eyelashes. Towards the end of the face up is when I finally add highlights underneath her eyebrow and as well as her top and bottom eyelashes. Something that I have enjoyed doing for my doll since I uploaded my last video, which was a little while ago, again, sorry. I have been adding highlights into her eyes to just add a little bit more dimension and make them look a little bit more dynamic. So I add brown lines from the center part of her eye towards the outside and vice versa with the whites. I think it just adds a lot more dimension to the eyes and makes them look a little bit cooler. I do skip over me showing you my first attempt at adding this little seashell detail to the center part of her face because I do ruin it, and I will show you my second attempt, but for this attempt I decided to add some blue on top of the white because I thought it would look better. But after I added the blue, I decided to, add coral since that was the whole color scheme for this doll, and once I added coral it just completely ruined it and I was so sad, so I ended up just wiping it off with some water and restarting. I definitely think my second attempt came out far better than my first attempt because the lines came out bigger and they were much more noticeable. Sometimes small delicate lines are not always the best. I also added some white dots above her eyebrows and added some turquoise and coral dots to them to match the same dots that I placed near her eyes. And with those dots finally added, her face up is complete, and now it is time to move on to her clothes and accessories. This doll went through a couple ups and downs. The first thing that I changed was that originally her outfit was going to be 2 pieces, but after making the shorts I decided to switch it to a romper with some off-shoulder sleeves. But the main part of this top does consist of this top pattern that I got from a Monster High t-shirt. I made her shorts using a pants pattern that I had already had and I use in past videos, but all I did for that was just cut the pattern shorter so that I could get the length that I was going to need. And finally, I can show you the fabric that I'm going to be using for her outfit and the fabric that I used to cut out these pattern pieces. This is why I decided to go with the coral and turquoise for her eyeshadow because that is pretty much the only colors that is in this fabric. Here is her top pattern piece as well as the pieces I will be using to create her off-shoulder sleeves. And here are the pattern pieces that I cut out for her shorts. As you can see, her shorts came out pretty tall. For her top, I did sew on one of her off-shoulder sleeves and then I used a pin to kind of mimic how it would show up once I actually closed the whole shirt. And I noticed that it was a good length to end up just cropping it and turning it into a romper, so that's what I ended up doing. In order for the off-shoulder sleeve to have that look, all I did was run a gathering stitch through the top and then I hemmed the bottom part of the off-shoulder sleeve with some Fabri-Tac glue. Once both sleeves were attached and the neckline was hemmed, I finished sewing the top together down the sides, and then I sewed the top and shorts together to create the romper. Once the romper was finished, I forgot to take some final pictures of it, but I ended up gluing the romper directly onto the doll because I wanted the romper to have a very fitted look, and also to make sure that it was fitted, I used this ribbon as a belt just because it reminded me of some fishing rope. I will be using these Monster High shoes that I think belong to a Laguna doll. I picked these out because they were just perfect with the little starfish right on the front of the shoe. I didn't like the extra detail that was going around her leg, so I ended up just cutting it off with an X-Acto knife. Once I cut off all that extra plastic, I picked out the colors that I was going to be using to repaint her shoes. Her shoes I decided to keep very close to the whole color scheme. The main part of her shoe will be this tan and gold color, and the white I will be using as detail for the starfish. Then I will be using turquoise for the heeled part of the shoe, and then I will mix this orange and magenta color to give me a coral color to paint the starfish. I don't want to spend too much time on showing me repainting the shoes, so the left shoe was repainted with all of the base colors, and the shoe on the right has been painted with the gold color and all of the white detailing. Something that I really wanted to give this doll was a large beach hat. For this, you will need some Mod Podge, aluminum foil, and yarn. A lot of tutorials that I like to watch for making doll accessories are from another YouTube channel called My Froggy Stuff. I found this tutorial on their channel and it is for making beach accessories. I will definitely leave a link in the description box if you guys want to go watch their video for a little bit more detail and direction. I will quickly show you the main steps, which is basically creating a mold for the hat shape that you want to create using aluminum foil. Then using Mod Podge and your string of choice, you simply glue down the string along the shapes and curves for the hat. And once the whole hat has dried, you peel away the aluminum foil and you are left with a hat. As you can see, I decided to change the color of the hat because the white string wasn't really working. I'm not sure if the string was just too thin. I ended up finding this teal color of yarn in my crafting supplies, and I'm pretty sure this was from my Cyrus doll when I created his yarn wefts. I really like this color of hat because I think it matches the whole tourist idea, because I think a tourist might buy a whole matching set of accessories to go along with their outfit. In order to hide the ugly side of the hat that was touching the aluminum foil, I will be gluing on some of the teal fabric to the underside of the hat. Once I glued the teal fabric to the underside of the hat, I also decorated the top of the hat with some ribbon and some tropical themed buttons to really bring the whole outfit together. I also made a bag for this doll using some coral mesh fabric. I used some string for handles on the bag, and lastly I filled up the bag with some seashells that were given to me by one of my doll friends. And as a last hurrah down tacky tourist lane, I made her this little necklace with a dolphin charm and a couple pearls. Now that all of her accessories are complete, I take some final photos of the doll. Here is my tropical tourist doll all complete. Considering that this video did take a long time to finally come out, it didn't actually take me that long to repaint the doll and customize her. Looking at these final photos, I did forget to mention that I repainted a bracelet for her. Even though I make fun of her as being a tacky tourist, I actually do love the way she came out. She looks so ready to head to the beach that it honestly makes me jealous because it's actually starting to get cold over here and it's not even the end of summer. If I had to pick, I think my favorite part about this doll is her hat. I really love the way it came out along with the accessories that I added to the top of the hat. Let me know what your guys' favorite part about this doll was in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining me on another doll customizing video. If you want to join me on future customizing videos, feel free to hit that subscribe button and leave a like if you like the video. My next video will have a doll with a fiery red color scheme. A while back on my Instagram, I asked you guys what I could turn a potential doll into, and you guys gave me some great suggestions. Once I repaint her, I do already have a couple dolls to bring me into the month of October, which is when I will continue my Halloween costume series from last year. But this is the end, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.